The ancient Egyptians believed their gods moved quietly through life like wind through tall grass or water beneath a boat. These gods were hidden in the sun's warmth, in the dark of night, in birth, in endings, and in the steady flow of time. They did not shout their power. They shaped the world softly, guiding hearts, guarding sleep, and keeping balance when life felt uncertain. Every moment, from a child's first breath to the setting of the sun, was touched by unseen hands. Tonight, we step gently into that hidden world where belief flowed like a river and wonder waited patiently, ready to be discovered. Let's begin. Ammit had 3 predators in one body. The ancient Egyptians believed Ammit was formed from 3 powerful animals they knew well. Her head was a crocodile, resting low and still, shaped by water and time. Her body was a lion, quiet and patient, holding its strength without noise. Her back legs belonged to a hippopotamus, wide and steady, like the slow river at dusk. Each part came from a creature the people of the Nile respected and feared. Together, they created a being that reminded people to live carefully. Ammit did not live among the living. She waited in the afterlife, inside a calm and silent hall. When a person died, their heart was placed on a scale. Across from it rested a single feather, light as a breath. The feather stood for truth, balance, and the path a life had taken. If the heart was light, the soul was allowed to continue forward. But some hearts were heavy. They carried unkind choices, selfish acts, and broken promises. When such a heart tipped the scale, Ammit leaned closer, silent and still. She did not shout or show anger. She did not argue or decide. She simply followed the order of the world. She consumed the heavy heart, and the journey ended there. The Egyptians believed this ending was quiet, not pain, not fear, just rest. The soul faded like a ripple returning to calm water. Artists painted Ammit on tomb walls and temple stones. She stood as a symbol of endings, not cruel and not kind, only present as the world gently closed one door and opened another. Sekhmet breathed fire and healing. The ancient Egyptians believed Sekhmet was made from the sun's rage. Her body was a woman's, powerful and upright, but her head was a lioness, with a mane like flames and eyes that burned without blinking. She wore a sun disk on her head, circled by a cobra that never slept. In one hand, she held an ankh, the symbol of life. In the other, arrows that brought fever and plague. Sekhmet was born from Ra's fury. When humanity turned against the gods, Ra sent her to punish them. She killed without hesitation, drank blood like water, and would have ended everything if Ra had not tricked her with beer dyed red. She drank until she slept, and when she woke, her rage had cooled. But Sekhmet did not only destroy. The Egyptians believed she could heal what she had harmed. Doctors prayed to her before treating fevers. Priests invoked her name to drive out sickness. The same heat that killed could also purify, burn away infection, and restore balance to a failing body. She was both the disease and the cure, the flame that consumed and the warmth that sustained. Her power did not choose sides, it simply was. Artists painted Sekhmet in temples and healing shrines, a goddess holding life and death in the same breath. Taweret was the guardian of birth and protection. The ancient Egyptians believed Taweret was a protector of new life. She had the body of a hippopotamus, strong and round, built to stand firm. Her legs were those of a lion, steady and brave. Her back carried the tail of a crocodile, a quiet warning to danger. She looked fierce, but her purpose was gentle. She was shaped to protect what was most fragile. Taweret was not a god of temples and kings. She lived close to everyday people. She was believed to watch over homes, mothers, and children, especially at night, when fears felt larger and help felt far away. Childbirth in ancient Egypt was dangerous. Life and death stood very close together. People believed Taweret stood beside women in labor, keeping harm away while new life entered the world. Amulets with her image were placed near beds and worn on the body. Taweret did not rule or judge. She guarded. She stood between danger and the weak. Her strength was not loud or proud. It was steady, like someone staying awake through the night. The Egyptians believed Taweret remained near long after birth. She watched over children as they grew. She protected sleep, dreams, and quiet moments. Artists painted Taweret on household objects and walls. She was there to remind families they were not alone. A powerful guardian, standing calmly beside life as it begins. Bes was the protector of homes and happiness. The ancient Egyptians believed Bes was a guardian of homes and families. He had a small, strong body, bearded, dwarf face. His arms and legs were short, but full of energy. He looked fierce, yet his heart was gentle. He was created to chase away danger, not to cause it. Bes did not live in distant temples. He lived close to the people, in their homes, in their daily lives. He watched over mothers, children, and the quiet joys of family. People believed he protected sleep, keeping nightmares and shadows away. Babies and young children felt his presence most. Amulets with his image hung near beds or were worn on small necklaces. They were tiny signs of comfort and care. Bes danced and sang in carvings and paintings, a little spark of courage and laughter that reminded everyone life could still be bright. Bes did not judge or punish. He simply kept watch. Artists painted Bes on walls, beds, and furniture. He reminded families that no matter the dangers outside, someone small and fierce was always near, standing quietly in every home, guarding life, laughter, and the gentle moments that mattered most. Sobek, the keeper of the Nile and strength. The ancient Egyptians believed Sobek was the guardian of the Nile and the power of water. He had the body of a man and the head of a crocodile, strong and steady. His teeth could be sharp, but his purpose was protective, not cruel. He carried the river's strength in every movement and the rhythm of its currents in his heart. Sobek did not live only in temples. He lived in the waters and in the hearts of the people. Farmers, fishermen, and those who traveled the river believed he watched over them, guiding boats safely and keeping the waters full and generous. The Nile gave life, but it could also take it away. Sobek's presence reminded people to respect the river's power. He was steady, like the flowing water, strong, like the banks that held it. He moved through the waters, silent and steady, reminding all who saw him that strength and care could exist together. Artists painted Sobek on temple walls and in statues. He was a symbol of life flowing, danger held in balance, a quiet protector, carrying the river's pulse in every gaze, watching over the people, steady and unchanging as the Nile itself. Anubis, the guide of souls. The ancient Egyptians believed Anubis guided souls through the afterlife. He had the body of a man and the head of a jackal, calm and watchful. His black fur shone like the night, soft yet full of purpose. He moved quietly, guiding those who had passed, helping them find the path ahead. Every step of the journey was known to him, and he walked patiently beside each soul. Anubis did not live among the living. He stayed near tombs, along shaded paths, and in the silent halls of judgment. When someone died, he led their soul with care, watching over every moment, keeping fear and danger away. The heart of each person was weighed against a feather, and Anubis made sure the scales were fair and balanced. He did not punish, and he did not argue. He simply guided, silently and steadily, moving like a shadow at twilight, soft and watchful. His presence was calm, like the evening wind or the quiet river. Artists painted Anubis on coffins, temple walls, and scrolls. He reminded people that even endings could be gentle, that guidance and care could exist in the quietest moments. A patient guardian of souls, standing at the doorway between life and what comes next, always near, calm and steady, watching, guiding, and keeping the journey safe. Thoth, the keeper of knowledge and balance. The ancient Egyptians believed Thoth held the wisdom of the world. He had the body of a man and the head of an ibis, curved and precise. His eyes were calm, seeing all that was spoken, written, or done. He carried the weight of knowledge and the balance of truth in every gesture, moving gently, carefully, like a river tracing its path through sand. Thoth did not live in one place alone. He moved among temples, scribes, and the scrolls of learning. He helped people measure time, record the deeds of life, and maintain balance between right and wrong. Every action, every word, every thought was noted in his steady gaze, and nothing escaped his careful watch. He did not punish or scold. He simply observed, measured, and remembered, like a quiet scribe keeping order in the world. His presence was soft and calm, like the early morning light spilling across still waters or the gentle scratching of a reed pen on papyrus. Artists painted Thoth on temple walls, in books, and beside the scales of judgment. He reminded people that knowledge and balance were quiet powers, guiding life without anger or fear. Thoth watched over truth, keeping the world in steady rhythm, ensuring every life, word, and story was remembered with care. Horus, the guardian of kings and the sky. The ancient Egyptians believed Horus carried the sky in his very form. His body was human, tall and strong, but his head belonged to a falcon, sharp-eyed and watchful. His right eye held the sun, bright and burning. His left eye held the moon, cool and distant. When he blinked, day turned to night, and night back to day. He wore the double crown of Egypt, red and white together, the only crown that united what had been divided. Horus was not only a god in heaven, the Egyptians believed he lived on earth inside every pharaoh. When a king sat on the throne, Horus sat with him. When a king spoke, Horus spoke through him. The pharaoh's body was mortal, but the god inside was eternal. This was not a symbol or a story, it was truth, as real as stone. Horus did not rule from a distance. He walked in the sandals of kings, made decisions in their voices, and carried Egypt's future in their hands. His presence meant the land was whole, protected, and aligned with the order of creation. When a pharaoh died, Horus left that body and moved to the next. The man became Osiris, joining the quiet dead. But Horus remained, patient and unbroken, waiting in the next king's eyes. Artists carved Horus on palace walls and temple gates, not as a memory, but as a living presence. The sky folded into human form, watching Egypt with eyes that never closed. Set held the storm in his hands. The ancient Egyptians believed Set was shaped from something no one could name. His body was human, muscular and tall, but his head belonged to no animal they had ever seen. It was long and angular, with tall square ears and a curved snout. Some said it looked like a desert hound. Others claimed it was a creature that had vanished from the world. His eyes were red like sandstorms at dusk. He carried a waz scepter that hummed with restless energy. Set did not live in green places. He belonged to the desert, to the dry wind that scoured stone, to the thunderstorms that split the sky without warning. The Egyptians believed he was chaos itself, but not the kind that destroyed everything. He was the chaos that tested, that challenged, that forced change when things grew too still. Set protected Ra's boat each night in the underworld, fighting the serpent Apophis with a spear that never missed. Without Set's violence, the sun would never rise. His anger kept creation alive. His wildness held back the greater dark. He was both villain and guardian, brother, killer, and defender. The Egyptians did not worship him with ease, but they knew he was necessary. Order needed its opposite to stay awake. Artists carved Set at temple borders, facing outward. A reminder that strength sometimes wears an unfamiliar face, that survival requires what comfort cannot provide. Bastet carried joy in her eyes. The ancient Egyptians believed Bastet was gentleness made divine. Her body was a woman's, graceful and poised, but her head was a cat's, with large ears that turned toward every sound and eyes that reflected light like tiny moons. Her fur was sleek and dark, painted in shades of bronze and gold. She wore flowing robes that moved like water, and around her neck hung an aegis, a a protective collar that sparkled with small bells. In one hand, she carried a sistrum, a musical instrument that chimed softly with every movement. Bastet was not always gentle. In older times, she had been a lioness, fierce like Sekhmet, her sister. But over centuries, she softened. The Egyptians believed she chose kindness over rage, music over war, protection through presence rather than violence. She watched over homes, especially where children laughed and cats stretched in warm sunlight. Festivals held in her honor filled streets with dancing, music, and wine. People traveled from distant villages to celebrate her, to feel joy without fear, to remember that life could be light. She did not demand sacrifice or suffering. She asked only for happiness, for moments of peace woven into the ordinary days. Bastet moved quietly through Egyptian life, a guardian who purred rather than roared, who protected by simply being near. Artists carved Bastet in homes and temples. She reminded people that strength did not always need to be loud, that watchfulness could wear a gentle face, and that sometimes the fiercest protection came wrapped in softness. Khnum shaped each soul on his wheel. The ancient Egyptians believed Khnum created every living thing with his own hands. His body was a man's, strong and steady, but his head belonged to a ram, with long, curved horns that spiraled outward like the path of time. His hands were large and careful, the hands of someone who worked with clay and patience. Before him sat a potter's wheel that turned slowly, eternally, never stopping. Khnum did not create humanity all at once. The Egyptians believed he shaped each person individually, molding their body from Nile clay and breathing their ka, their life force, into form. Every child born carried the mark of his craftsmanship. No two were exactly alike because each had been formed separately, with intention, with care. He worked in a quiet place near the source of the Nile, where water began its long journey north. The river itself flowed from his will, rising and falling according to the turn of his wheel. Fertility, creation, and water were all connected in his hands. Khnum did not rush. He did not tire. Each soul received the same attention, whether destined for greatness or simplicity. The wheel turned and life continued, one form at a time. Artists painted Khnum in temples near the river. He sat at his wheel, patient and focused, shaping the world one breath, one body, one heartbeat at a time. Hathor held the sky and the wine cup. Her body was a woman's, full and strong, but her head could shift. Sometimes she wore cow horns holding a sun disk between them, golden and radiant. Sometimes her ears were a cow's, large and listening. Other times, she appeared fully human, crowned with a vulture headdress or a cobra. Her eyes were painted dark with kohl, lined with love and ancient knowing. Hathor was the goddess of many things that seemed opposite. She brought love and drunkenness, music and destruction, motherhood and desire. The Egyptians believed she nursed pharaohs with divine milk, giving them strength and legitimacy. But she was also the distant eye of Ra, sent to punish humanity, the same fury that became Sekhmet. She lived in celebrations and in grief, in the songs of festivals and the tears of mourners. She met the dead at the edge of the afterlife, offering them water and bread from a sycamore tree. She welcomed them gently, a mother receiving her children home. Hathor did not choose one aspect over another. She was all of it, joy and sorrow woven together like threads in linen. Artists carved Hathor on temple columns and tomb walls. She stood as a reminder that life holds everything at once, that the same heart can break and heal, can dance and mourn, can hold the sun and pour the wine. Ra traveled through death each night in every temple across Egypt. Ra was known as the sun and the king of all gods. His body was human, regal and upright, but his head belonged to a falcon, sharp and commanding. On his head rested a sun disk circled by a cobra, burning bright enough to illuminate the world. His skin glowed gold in daylight, but in the underworld, it turned pale and aged. He carried a wa scepter and an ankh, symbols of power and life. Ra did not simply shine. The people understood that he journeyed. Each day he sailed across the sky in his solar bark, bringing light to the living. But each night he descended into the Duat, the underworld, where he faced trials, demons, and the great serpent Apophis, who tried to swallow him whole. For 12 hours, Ra aged, weakened, and fought for survival. In the darkest hour, he met Osiris, and together they merged briefly, sun and death entwined. Then Ra was reborn, emerging at dawn as Khepri, young and renewed. The cycle never broke. Every sunset was a death, every sunrise a resurrection. Ra's journey was not distant mythology, it was the rhythm of existence itself, the promise that even gods faced darkness and returned. Artists painted Ra on temple ceilings and sacred boats, an old god growing young again, dying and waking, teaching that endings are only pauses, that light returns even after the longest night. Osiris was green with life after death. Along the Nile's fertile banks, Osiris ruled the dead, but was never truly gone. His body was human, wrapped tightly like a mummy, but his skin was green, the color of growing things, of plants pushing through dark soil. Sometimes his skin appeared black, like the fertile earth left by the Nile's flood. His face was calm, painted with the stillness of someone who had crossed to the other side. On his head sat the Atef crown, tall white feathers flanking a central cone. In his crossed hands, he held a crook and flail, the tools of a shepherd and a farmer. Osiris had been murdered by his brother Set, his body torn apart and scattered. But Isis found the pieces, and Anubis made him whole again through the first mummification. Osiris did not return to the living. Instead, he became king of the dead, judging souls from his throne in the underworld. Farmers knew Osiris was the grain itself. When seeds were planted in the ground, they died and were buried. When they sprouted, it was Osiris rising again. Death fed life. The cycle never ended. Every harvest was his resurrection. He did not rule with fear. His kingdom was rest, continuation, the quiet certainty that endings were not final. Artists painted Osiris on tomb walls and coffins, a king wrapped in stillness, green as new wheat, holding the promise that what is buried does not disappear, but transforms and grows again. Isis knew the words that moved the world. In myth and ritual, Isis held magic in her voice. Her body was human, tall and graceful, and her head was her own, crowned with a throne-shaped headdress that gave her name its meaning. Sometimes, she wore cow horns cradling a sun disk, borrowed from Hathor. Her arms were often outstretched, wings painted beneath them, ready to shelter and protect. Her eyes were sharp with intelligence and grief. Isis was the goddess of 10,000 names, each one a spell, each one a key to hidden power. She learned magic from Thoth and surpassed even him. When Ra grew old, she tricked him into revealing his secret name, the word that gave her power over the king of gods himself. With words alone, she could heal, curse, resurrect, and transform. When Osiris was killed, Isis searched every corner of Egypt for his scattered body. She spoke the right incantations, wove the right spells, and brought him back to life long enough to conceive their son, Horus. She was mother, magician, mourner, and queen. People knew no problem was too great for Isis if the right words could be found. She solved what seemed impossible, not with strength, but with cleverness and patience. Artists carved Isis with wings spread wide, a voice that could command gods, hands that could mend the dead, a mind that held the world together one carefully chosen word at a time. Ma'at was the feather that weighed truth. To every Egyptian, Ma'at was not just a goddess, but the foundation of reality itself. Her body was human, slender and upright, and her head was her own, calm and unadorned. On her head sat a single ostrich feather, tall and light, the only crown she needed. Sometimes, she was shown only as the feather because the symbol and the goddess were inseparable. She wore simple white robes and carried an ankh, the sign of life sustained by order. Ma'at was truth, balance, justice, and cosmic order woven into one being. Every action either upheld or violated her. Lies weakened the fabric of creation. Honesty strengthened it. Even the gods had to follow Ma'at's principles or risk undoing everything. Pharaohs offered small statues of Ma'at to the gods each day, a ritual gesture that maintained the world's structure. In the afterlife, every heart was weighed against her feather. If your life had been truthful and just, your heart balanced perfectly. If not, it tipped the scales. Ma'at did not argue or punish. She simply existed as the measure by which everything else was judged. Judgment halls and temples displayed her simple form, a feather light as breath, holding more weight than stone or gold, the quiet center around which everything turned, the truth that needed no defense, only recognition. Serket turned poison into medicine. Healers and physicians knew Serket controlled venom and its cure. Her body was a woman's, poised and alert, but on her head rested a scorpion, tail curved and ready, a living crown of danger. Sometimes she appeared with a scorpion's body and a woman's head, the reverse of other gods. Her arms were often raised, as if casting a spell or holding back harm. Serket was the goddess of those who had been stung or bitten. She knew every poison, every antidote, every word that could draw venom from a wound. Doctors and healers called on her name when treating snake bites and scorpion stings. People believed she could command these creatures, send them away, or call them near. She also protected the dead. One of the canopic jars that held the intestines was placed under her care. She guarded the vulnerable organs, keeping them safe in the journey to the afterlife. Serket did not bring pain for cruelty. She brought it as a teacher, a test, a reminder that life and death lived close together. And when pain came, she was also the one who knew how to stop it. Tombs and healing amulets showed her scorpion crown, holding the secret that harm and healing come from the same knowledge, that the sting and the cure rest in the same hands. Geb was the ground beneath their feet, given thought and emotion. His body was human, strong and broad, but he was always shown lying down, stretched across the world. His skin was sometimes green, like fertile fields, sometimes brown, like the soil itself. Plants grew from his body. Water pooled in his curves. He did not stand because he was the foundation of everything. Geb was married to Nut, the sky, but their father Shu had separated them. Geb reached upward endlessly, trying to touch her, but could never close the distance. People believed his sadness caused earthquakes. His laughter made the ground shake. His longing created hills and valleys. He was not a distant god. Every step taken was a step on Geb's body. Every seed planted entered his flesh. He felt the living world moving across him, the weight of cities, the lightness of children running. Geb did not speak often in myths, but his presence was constant, unavoidable, the foundation that held everything else in place. Creation scenes showed him prone beneath the world, a god who could not rise, who carried mountains and rivers in his body, who felt every footstep, every root. A quiet longing stretched across the earth, holding steady while the sky stayed just out of reach. Mafdet climbed the executioner's post. In the oldest pyramid texts, Mafdet was justice delivered swiftly. Her body was sometimes a woman's, sometimes fully a cheetah or mongoose, and fast. When shown as a goddess with a human form, her head was feline, sharp-eared and alert. She carried ropes and knives, tools of execution. In some images, she climbed a tall post where criminals and enemies of Ma'at were bound and killed. Mafdet protected the pharaoh and the gods from serpents and scorpions, creatures of venom and hidden danger. She hunted them relentlessly, striking before they could strike. People believed she moved faster than sight, her claws sharper than bronze. She was among the oldest goddesses, predating many of the more famous deities. Her role was clear and unchanging. Find threats, eliminate them, protect order. She did not hesitate or show mercy. Justice, in her form, was precise and final. Royal inscriptions showed her mid-leap, mid-strike, a hunter who never missed, a blade that never dulled, holding the line between order and the things that would unravel it, swift and certain, gone before the dust settled. Every god once lived inside someone's hope, not as a grand idea, but as a quiet comfort. A mother whispered a name in the dark while her child slept. A farmer paused at the edge of his field and asked for kindness from the land. A worker touched a small charm and felt less alone. Life was uncertain then. The river could change without warning. Illness arrived suddenly. The future was never clear. The gods helped people feel that something was watching, something cared, even when answers did not come. The gods were part of ordinary days. They were painted on bowls and tools, carved into doorways, worn as small figures close to the skin. People spoke their names softly, the way you speak when you do not want to wake someone. At night, when lamps went out and the world grew quiet, belief felt strongest. The darkness was full, not empty. The gods were thought to be near, listening in the stillness. When someone died, their family believed the gods would guide them gently, step by step through the unknown. Not rushing, not shouting, just watching and waiting. Those people are gone now. Their homes have crumbled, their voices have faded, but their belief shaped something lasting. It shaped stone. It shaped images that still remain. And tonight, as you rest, you can feel that same softness they once felt. The sense that the night is not empty, that something quiet is keeping watch. Nothing more is needed, just rest. If you enjoy quiet stories like this, you're welcome to subscribe. A gentle like helps keep this calm space growing. You can leave a simple word whenever it feels right. Have a good night.